Welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's now time to find out what big stories are making headlines in the dailies. Joining us this morning is public affairs analyst, chartered accountant, Sesan Okunade. You know, it's always good to give a professional background.
Thank you very much.
I'm loyal to your government.
Good morning to you. In fact, I'm trying to look at...
Let me not bring my behind the scenes background. Good morning, sir. I'm loyal to your government, sir.
Your loyalty is...
Great to have you join us.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President is back in the country.
Daddy, yo.
10-day working holiday is back, and it was received by an entourage of dignitaries, just the way he did when he was sent off. But let's
just something that his arrival yesterday did not give good thing to us in Lagos with the inferno that happened on the island.
Oh yes, terrible.
Are you saying that?
I'm surprised.
I'm just like to
what a terrible coincidence.
As a press time, because just looking through our headlines here, the inferno didn't make it. But the fire broke out by 8 p.m. and I'm sure the newspapers had gone to print. They should wait. They should learn to exercise patience. And that's why television medium is good. Yeah. We're there live, giving up-to-date information. It's a very sad one, and our hearts go out to those who lost millions of properties in that unfortunate incident in Mandela's Lagos Island. But let's start with the Guardian newspaper. The headline says, "Insider threat, low confidence, hobble $14 billion aviation target." There's also PDP throws 2027 presidential ticket open to all regions. What's going on here? They had a National Executive Council, a NEC meeting, and they said they've zoned the presidential ticket to the south. And now we're hearing that they've thrown it open to all regions. We'll get details of that as we proceed. Food, transport, housing, others remain key inflation drivers. I guess that's very obvious metrics to use. Atiku meets U.S. envoy in Abuja, flays tribalism in Nigeria. There's also Obi decries normalization of violence as Kwara youths make distress call. Tinubu returns as Fubara set for reinstatement. Labour Party 6 emergency rule probe. And federal government is insensitive to doctors' welfare, says Nigeria Medical Association. Shoref House countersuit as DSS sues him, ex Meta over anti-Tinubu post. And International Day, Lagos warns against using ozone-depleting gases for refrigerators and others. And there's also crude output improves as Nigeria records first full pipeline availability in 20 years. So it's not just bad news all the time, that's positive news. But let's start with the big one here. Tinubu returns as Fubara set for restatement. Lagos Labour Party 6 emergency rule probe. Are you excited about the return of the duly elected governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara? And do you think the administration, the short administration of the sole administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ebas, should be probed, since he was governing in connivance with the special committee of the National Assembly? It wasn't like there wasn't any oversight on his activities in Rivers State.
Well, thank you very much, Benga. First and foremost, maybe I'll say congratulations to the people of Rivers State. At least something we've all been crying for that we should have for a democratic setting is going to be reinstated back on Thursday, which is tomorrow. But you see, I have my concern about this issue of probe and probe. We probe what will not give an end result that is valid. How many probe have you seen come out with positive results where people are actually punished for some of this wrongdoing? And that's why a lot of us have been an advocate of saying, can we have a system that checks the activity before you even carry out those things that you're supposed to do? And in this course, for a democratic setting, I think the State House of Assembly are supposed to be check and balances on the governor of the state. But here we are, where we have a sole administrator that take decision on his own. The judiciary are nowhere to be found. So if they are calling for probe, it's good, but with what we've seen in time past, it will not yield any result. money spent, the money don't work out. Make I use street language. That.
You know, if you work out, are they not going to account for it?
It's taxpayers' money.
It's taxpayers' money and should be accounted for.
So much that we've seen in previous democratically elected governors. How much have we actually recruited back into the government coffers? Not to now talk of people. So this man was there to represent interest, and I can tell you that they will protect it all there. I'm speaking on previous things that we've seen. We've seen accusation, allegation against even democratically elected governors of misappropriation of funds that is meant to develop their state, and nothing has come out of it.
So, in your opinion, any call for probe is an exercise in futility?
That's for me, because it's like the more you look, the less you see of some of the things that has been happening, and that's part of the problem that we faced with in the country. You've heard about. We all listened to the issue raised by EFCC when they said they opened the first book of when EFCC opened the first book. They didn't go in. You remember then that they said those revelations that they saw showed them there are a lot of things. Have you heard anything? He has gone to see them, and that was the last you hear of some of those things. So you ask yourself, most of the time we talked about fighting corruption, but how many people are actually found culpable to be punished and serve as deterrent to others? We've not seen a lot of that. So that's just the challenge where I said probing this man may just be exercise in futility, not yielding the desired goal, because it will come and go and nothing will happen.
What do you make of PDP throwing 2027 presidential tickets open to all regions?
Yeah, well, my concern speaks of inconsistency on the path. Is it the NEC that is retrieving back their statement on the issue of saying we are giving this to the South, or possibly they have a retort? I'm sure they will not be allowing those that excuse them. That the reason for excusing that political party is they seems not to be coordinated or know what they actually want for them. But it's good.
Now that they've thrown it open, do you think Elijah Atiku Abubakar might just come back?
Wow.
No, I doubt. I doubt. Even the forces that are against Elijah Atiku,
powers and principalities,
they are much more than him returning back. So he should enjoy his stay, because I think he should be having a good ride with ADC. But I think part of the thing we've always been telling this political party is that they should be constructive in even criticizing, put themselves together. But most of the time, all the politicians, what they are in there for is their personal gain, what goes into. You will see a lot of rancor that will actually arise from this, and don't be surprised. You might see presidency coming out, and that's why we've come to say this idea of zoning. Can we get somebody that is of merit, wherever you're coming from? Nigeria is one, and it's not about whether you are from the south, from the east. Not throwing this technical
it's for equality and balance and fairness.
But then,
are we ripe for just throwing it open? But
then there's also the Constitution. If they say that they're restricting it to a certain part, people would argue that you're depriving people of the right to run for office, their constitutional right. So the PDP is saying the
constitution of the country is
supersedes the constitution of the party. But what is a bit confusing for me is PDP saying on the one hand they're not trying to run foul of the constitution by ensuring that they're opening the presidential ticket to everyone from every region, but then in the same breath saying that they're zoning the ticket to the south. So it feels like anyone who's maybe from the north that buys the ticket, they're just buying it to waste your time, because within themselves they already know that the ticket is going to the south.
Even use that to raise funds, even for the party.
The sale of forms.
For the sale of forms, to say we are opening it up, but you already narrowed your result to where you are going to say. Because
people are not going to vote for unless the person from the north or maybe the other geopolitical region can then decide to push and wield for as much influence.
No, we are just talking of the north and the south, because the southwest,
southeast, southwest, south.
All those ones are south. The other ones are not. So it's not south stuff that we have there right now. But for my own is whichever, all those politicians, we've seen that they almost be. While PDP was there, we thought the APC will come with the change mantra and make things happen. We can all see where we are as we speak. It's like the same set of people wearing different clothes, and when they get in there, we come with excuses. The citizens are really not benefiting that which they actually promised them to do. So whichever way they are trying to open, whether to anybody or to the south, give us credible people that will actually fulfill the promises for the citizen, because we have the natural resources, we have the human capital, the intellectual. I think the only thing we lack is the leadership will to do what is needful in making sure that we benefit from all the things that we are actually blessed with as a country.
All right, just to mention that we will be taking phone calls now officially. So the phone lines are open. If you want to talk, you want to drop a comment, please feel free to call the numbers on your TV screen. If you rather chat and type your comment, you can go on YouTube. We're streaming live via the News Central page, News Central channel on YouTube. Just a few comments. Good morning to Lillian Onoha and Wakunye Chukwemeka, who have dropped their thoughts. But this is, of course, regarding the News Central correspondent, Israel Oforobo, and the rest of the team who were attacked by thugs yesterday at Lagos Island. Wakunye Chukwemeka says, Oliver, I wish the authorities will investigate the harassment your colleague received. The guy who had a machete during the NSAS protest is still walking freely. Lillian Onoha says, I'm imagining what would have happened if that treatment was offered against the woman. No one has the right to stop another performing his legal duty except the one or the authority who donated that assignment to him. Just to mention, one of our team is a woman. Karina was one of them. You see, there's a lady in dreads by the corner there. Karina Hari she's a woman, and she was one of the people who was attacked as well. Thankfully, they are all safe, but we certainly want the authorities to hold, yes, that's Karina, you can see her over there in the dreads. We want the authorities to hold these men to account for the wrongful treatment and harassment of the News Central team. But now let's get back to the newspapers, and just to mention that you can call in, the numbers to call in on your TV screen. Still on the front page of the papers, we're seeing here, the federal government is insensitive to doctors' welfare, Nigeria Medical Association reiterates. You see the story about doctors. It feels like we've been on it for a while. Resident doctors going on strike, and it's never ending.
It's not going to end, Oli. Where will it end? When the people to attend to them prefer to go on medical tourism. So why do you want to encourage the things therein? If what we have locally, people are actually, the so-called leader, patronizes some of these things, then you take the interest of those people who are actually working them at heart. That's what I'm saying in this, because most of the time, who are the people that are treating them offshore? Is it not the same Nigerians that are actually out there because they have a system that works and they find it difficult? We've seen a lot of leaders at the subnational build, fantastic hospitals, and you ask yourself, after building this hospital, have you been there to actually, get treatment or be served? Most of the time, at a little thing they spike and they're out of the country to take medication. So this will continue. I'm sure they said this was an agreement signed, whether 2009 or 2000. So you can imagine, even if you are bringing to, you are going to implement what was agreed on 2009, I'm sure you know what inflation would have done on that particular thing. If it's in terms of monetary term, and if it's in terms of infrastructure, it would have actually hyped in terms of cost. So our leaders, it's not only the medical arm, every other arm, is the education sector you want to talk of, is it about our economy and every other area, we seems not to be sensitive to some of these things, and that's why we've said a lot of people who are in authority today, the best way to address this thing is to put in our constitution to make sure, although I know people will say it's freedom of whatever, freedom of this, that if you are a politically elected person, you dare not go out of the country for medical treatment. You must stay in there to do that. So if you're a governor, fix those things in your state to make sure that you have access to the, and it is then you can have consideration for the medical doctor or even the teacher. If you have a child, your child cannot move out of the, because of what benefit is setting up.
Why does it seem that they're not listening to the doctors? I mean, this is a very critical sector. It's a life and death situation. Is it that we don't have the financial capacity? Is it a money problem?
It's not a money problem, because we discussed it, was it not last month, of government actually meeting up their revenue target. And you must have set that target for you to be able to galvanize one or two things together. So whatever they are actually getting from this month till December, it's excess of what they've actually, and you ask yourself, how much of such revenue is actually being put in use to the strategic thing that can grow the economy? If the doctors are actually, have you come to a round table to say, okay, this that you're actually asking for, this is what we can do, this is how far we can do, and have an agreement and execute that agreement that you have, not putting it in limbo. Not too long, you'll be hearing the lecturers because I asked Sano and LASU
for
their own strike. So which sector actually, and these two sector is very critical. Quite disheartening that majority of the people who are in authority today enjoyed free education, but are we providing such even to the citizens?
Free quality education.
Put that word, free quality education. But are we even getting free education, not to have the quality therein? A lot of people prefer to go to the private sector because the public school a lot of us attended are not accessible. A lot of them have access to
Ex-former BC of Obafemi Awolowo University, Professor Abimbola, says a Nigerian professor earns a gardener's 3-hour pay in other climes.
I hear that some of them earn as low as 400,000 naira. Imagine getting to the pinnacle of your career, because where do you want to go to after being a professor and you're earning less than $1 million? I mean, this. I'm hoping that people who have
inadequate.
Even if it's $1 million, it's still inadequate.
It's part of what we're saying, that even if you want,
well, it can't be less. I can't believe that 400,000 naira one.
No, a lot of them are as low as that. How much do you see people in level 16, level 17? But you must be able to provide basic amenities that those funds that they are getting might actually just be used. You can imagine a professor who is actually lecturing, sending their children to school, private school, no public school, is not having access to a good hospital where he needs to go to the private one to spend so much. His car gets to the mechanic practically like every other day because of bad road. And you can accumulate all those expenses together and expect him to survive with 400,000 without putting much of his pressure on the students, either by selling textbook or the other.
All right, let's look at another paper. We've looked at the Vanguard newspaper this morning. This time around, let's go to the Guardian. We've looked at the Guardian. Let's look at the Punch newspaper. Front page of the Punch newspaper: federal government unveils agric reforms, moves to create 21 million jobs. Fresh incentives will boost production, food production, free Nigerians from seasonal dependency, Shatima says. AFA and others endorse measures, seek timely intervention. Women farmers task federal government on loans and others. How Nigeria can attain global power, according to Sanwo-Olu. Don't derail Awujale selection, council warns ruling houses. 4 hospitalized as fire got 2 Lagos buildings. Federal government predicts fresh flooding in Lagos and 13 others. So the one that we experienced yesterday is what? Is appetizer.
Is free.
Alone. Tinubu returns to Abuja after cutting short Paris leave. Neymar pushes for tariff hike. Airlines kick. Army arrests notorious IPOB commander in Imo. Is that a Gentle Yahoo?
He will be putting his heels in the detention facility of the Nigerian army.
Honestly, oil reforms drive $18.2 billion deals, according to the federal government. Let's talk about the fire that got the 2 buildings in Lagos State.
Yeah, I saw some footage.
Why Lagos Island all the time?
Sincerely speaking, if you look at the structure on the island, I think the Lagos State government needs to prevail in some of this area. They seems to be too choked with one another, and any issue with a particular one, will create problem. I know before now the Building Control Agency, as one way or the other, be making moves to talk about distressed building, how people need to vacate, and these are not even distressed building; they are buildings that are there. And what was actually disheartening is you look at some of these high-rise buildings without having fire extinguisher or things that can actually be used to mitigate the problem if there are even little fire in some of those things. How are you training, the personnel in the office to attack even little fire that can be? These are part of the problem that I feel, but Lagos State government needs to critically examine what is happening on the island. I mean, the Mandalas,
Central Business District,
the Central Business District, in that area, and let's pay attention to some of those buildings that are there. Some of them are even weak. You hear about, before now, I think 2-3 years ago, it was about collapse, not fire. Now we are hearing about fire and the other. I think it's something we need to just critically look into, because it's not worth losing life, to things that we can actually control or tame as a person.
All right, let's look at another paper. This time, let's look at the Vanguard newspaper. On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, Rivers hopes mixed views as emergency ends tomorrow. We can see here the sub-story. Ibas asks residents to nurture peace already built. Elders sue for unity. Fubara returning as a conquered man, according to CUPP. Governance may suffer, says Okori, APGA's founding chairman. PDP wants Fubara against defection, demands probe of interim rule. Can you force him not to defect? Don't provoke me to anger. Tinubu returns from vacation. You can see the picture here of the chief of staff and some other dignitaries who went to welcome the president from the airport. You can see Governor Abdullahi of Nasarawa State, Chief of Staff Femi Gbajabiamila, and a number of them. Anyway, moving on. 2027.
Governor Bagono there.
Please don't stress me.
Is not far from Abuja. I was surprised that Governor Hope Uzodinma came all the way from Owerri.
No, it's turn by turn. He went for going. He can't go for coming back. Some other person has to go.
I mean, for this sort of welcoming ceremony, you expect Governor Bago to be there, and Nasarawa State Governor.
But at least Senator Godswill Akpabio was there.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important. You can see him there. 2027, PDP throws door open to all, validates Hashim's argument on zoning. Food security, federal government unveils new agri-investment incentives. Nigerians profs earn gardeners 3-hour pay, according to ex-OAU-VC Abimbola. At the top of the paper, we have experts disagree as presidency says inflation will drop to single digits. Bandit commander Ado Aliero kills traditional ruler in Safe Zamfara. Wow. NIM-SIM linkage reduces fraud, boosts national security, according to President Tinubu. Federal government drags Showore, Facebook, X to court over criminal posts against Tinubu. We're definitely starting from there. Private depots deserted as Dangote refinery begins direct fuel supply. So those are the two stories I would like us to take. Let's start with federal government.
So somebody is celebrating, the other person is sad.
Yes, that's the fuel.
The marketers.
The marketers one, because we're seeing here that private depots have been deserted as Dangote refinery begins direct fuel supplies. The conversation about Dangote monopolizing the market has been a conversation that we've been hearing for the longest time, and some would argue that a number of these organizations are sort of teaming up against him and looking for loopholes because he's in a way taking bread from them. Nigerians just want fuel. We want accessible fuel, we want affordable fuel. We don't really care about the drama behind the scenes.
Concerned, you know my position about challenging Dangote all the time.
Tell me.
Why can't you, as an individual, people that are actually talking about monopolization, go ahead and take the risk, invest and monopolize the same way he's doing? As far as I'm concerned, somebody is actually taking the risk to venture into that particular business and is looking for a way to ease the burden of we, the citizen of the country. You see, part of the problem we faced, I think I was on a sister station when I was discussing this issue of Nupeng and Dangote, and I'm like, why are we not putting the federal government on their toes to do what is needful? You can actually pick up on federal government if they are the one coming out to say, we want to do this. But somebody took the risk. What the government cannot do, a private individual like you and I took the risk. What we are, the signal
like
we are.
The access to capital he has is different from our.
But they started somewhere. They started somewhere.
Anyway, I tap into that glory.
So the truth is, the man took the risk. He did all those things, and part of the things we need to do is now to checkmate the activity. All we need to do is to look for a way to encourage other investors to come into it. People like us have said government should hands off in doing business that are meant for people who understand the dynamics of business.
Government should have no business in business.
In doing business. So leave it, create the enabling environment, put the policy to actually checkmate the activities or the excesses of some of these people. Part of the things I'm actually waiting for is Dangote has opened the eyes of business investors to say this is achievable. In the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, can we have 2 or 3 other individuals? Because I always say that there is resources, financial resources in the country. Can we have 2, 3 other people coming up with refinery to compete with Dangote? But if all we do every day,
with some of the steps he's taking, is to be frustrating him. Those other people will prefer to actually take their money to save it there and earn interest, rather than actually plowing it in the development of the country.
What about the government's own refineries? What do we do?
A lot of us have said, can we sell off this refinery to individuals that can manage it? You cannot just keep those things. You can imagine if you give it to the likes of the big boys that we know, the likes of Tony of Trans. You remember Transcorp before now? All those government-owned agency, when they actually sold it out to individuals, there was transformation, because a businessman will not invest his money where he will not gain.
Yeah.
He has the stakeholders, the shareholders, who has believed in him, who have invested in that particular thing, to come home with dividend. And he must do everything humanly possible. If the government failed to do it, let the private individual do it.
I believe when Olive, when he was referring to the big boys, just to rejig your memory, you meant people like Benga, Borowa, Johansson, Sesan Okunade.
Of course. At least we actually consolidating. We can buy one, and so, but I would rather prefer we go to the power sector and not.
It's when you buy refinery. Remember me, your kingdom. Me, I want to bam bam. I want to chill with the big boys.
We'll refine paraffin and give you, so you can be using it for your body. Paraffin.
Well,
and petroleum jelly.
So the truth is, I want a situation. A lot of people might criticize the move by Dangote. I don't like when I hear monopolizing things. Somebody took the risk.
But there's a precedent. It did have a sort of monopoly in cement and sugar.
Monopoly,
so his
because
track record is speaking for him.
Let's assume.
That's why they say
let's assume that that's something to go by. Who gave him the opportunity to monopolize? If the government had set up systems and structures that ensured that these businesses, that this industry had a lot of players in it, we would not be talking about this. If the refineries were working well at optimum capacity as well,
we wouldn't even think of
opening one.
So there was a vacuum that was created by the failure.
The vacuum, and he must definitely enjoy the
and they're still firing daggers at him. He says
it's not a philanthropist.
He said there's a mafia
money
that doesn't want his refineries.
And that's why I feel a lot of citizens that now attack this man to say monopoly. I laugh, because government has failed. You can imagine if we don't have that refinery. I can tell you that the importation of fuel would have gone to as high as like 2,000 naira, because these importers of fuel will be posting up
profit.
Is it not the same thing they are doing when they were importing fuel, that they are accusing this person
for?
The
tragedy is not just that the refineries aren't working. We're still spending monies on
turnaround maintenance,
and that is unaccounted for, unaudited.
So a lot of
and no one has been held responsible.
Nobody will be held responsible.
But we see the headlines: Mele Kyari questioned by EFCC.
After the questioning, what comes out of it? That's part of
grilled.
Whichever English you like to use. When they grilled him, did you see the smoke coming out of him? Actually been smoke.
This is our kind of joke.
So,
I love it. When they grilled him.
So it's just noise.
Did they grill him as soon as possible? Okay, let's move to this other story I wanted to talk about. And I want to give you the details of the story, because this is what social media people call aura for aura. Right? Federal government at the instance of the DSS on Tuesday filed criminal charges against activist Omoyele Sowore. He's, of course, former presidential candidate of the AC. This was over a social media post in which he described President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a criminal. But Sowore, who sneered at the charges, replied by also suing the DSS before the Federal High Court in Abuja, challenging what he described as unconstitutional censorship of his social media accounts. This is what they call aura for aura. This is still on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Top right corner, where we see federal government drags Sowore Facebook X to court over criminal post against Tinubu. I don't know if you remember the particular post. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had gone to Brazil to say that there's no more corruption, and Sowore then tweeted saying this criminal, and then he tagged the president saying actually went to Brazil to state that there's no more corruption under his regime in Nigeria. What audacity to lie shamelessly. They are kicking against the fact that he referred to the president as a criminal. This post was made on the 25th of August, and federal government says it contravenes Section 24, subsection 2, paragraph B of the Cyber Crimes Prohibition Prevention Amendment Act 2024. Let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, Olive, sincerely speaking, whichever section you intend to quote or not, I think the use of veiled language on individual is actually not something someone like me will welcome. Even if someone is a criminal, is currently the head of state and the commander-in-chief of armed forces, whether you like it, it's the office, yeah. We must one way or the other respect the officers. It's not about, you can't just open your mouth and just criticize. You can criticize people objectively, but not by name calling, telling somebody, but people voted for him. You are saying that the crop of people that voted for him as much as good as who they are. That's where I fought.
To even call someone a criminal, the person needs to have been convicted by a crime or have served time. So,
to the best of my knowledge, I've not heard any. I know people will say that they bought over the judiciary, but you must have substantial fact against an individual before you can go ahead to say the person is a criminal.
Regardless of your facts, at the end of the day, if a court of competent jurisdiction has not found them guilty of a crime, you can't call them a criminal.
You cannot call the person a criminal.
But looking at the person of Omoyele Sowore, what does it gain by all of this? It always has run-ins with the law, and this was something that was avoidable. If you had deleted that tweet, we won't be in this situation. But others are on the defensive side saying you have freedom of speech. But I don't think you have freedom to malign a person's character.
Yeah, you're saying what does it gain?
If the person is the president.
Benga, when you're saying what does it gain, are we not discussing the issue now? That's one gain. At least it's on the front burner of the paper, and that's publicity if you decide to consider another presidential
shot at the presidency.
You know, just give something, and it's trending. It's everywhere. I'm sure if you go online today now, it's part of the things that people want to talk about. No, why would DSS do this? Why would they not do that? So you just create, you know, a content and allow that to happen. Because I know definitely for him as an individual, he would not allow such himself to be, you know, called, you know, in that kind of name. I think each time, and that's why we said this social media, we should try as much as possible to have courtesy when you are relating with people, not just giving an attack because you feel you have access to phone and you can type whatever you like. I won't be a party to it, even though a lot of us criticize Mr. President on some of the wrongdoings, but you continue to say not name calling or maligning his personality when you don't have a substantive, you know, court's, you know, pronouncement of such person being a criminal.
Evidence to back your pronouncements.
Right. Anyway, this is the most that we can take this morning on Breakfast Central. It's been a delight to have you. Thank you so much, Mr. Okunade.
Thanks so much. Just before we go, I want to share a piece of personal information. In 2027, I've decided that I'll be running for president of my estate association.
Thank you so much.
Elections are coming up in 2027. So
are they not zoning to certain flats in your estate or certain duplexes within your estate?
Or mansions. It's a very...
They have opened it up to everybody.
It's open to everybody.
All right, I'll be part of your media and your campaign team.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I offer
you have my vote.
too.
You have my vote, Mr. President.
27 is almost here.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you guys. My name is Benga Boro. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yes.
All right. And I am Olive Emodi. It's been a pleasure being here. Have a wonderful rest of the day.